Hello, darlings. You've all heard of Marilyn Monroe.
Welcome back, darlings. I'm TV host, entertainment journalist, Cognac Wellerlane, and we are just about to do a fabulous Zoom interview with rock star Jack Starr. Let's take a look at this fabulous interview with Jack Starr, and he is going to talk about his latest band, Burning Star. Keep watching, darlings. More interview coming up. Welcome back, darlings. I'm TV host, entertainment journalist Cognac Wellerlane, and we have a very special guest today. I am so excited. I have here today a rock star, a musician. He's been in the business for many years. He is a rock metal expert when it comes to rock music. Mr. Jack Starr, welcome to Cognac's Corner and happy Pink Wednesday. And this is my pink kitchen. As you can see behind us is my pink kitchen. So what do you think of that, Jack? You like pink?
I think it's great. I think that, first of all, I'm honored to be on your show, Cognac. And I did play a little catch up and I watched a lot of the previous shows. And it's really very interesting. The whole magnitude of guests that you've had on, from the ridiculous to the sublime.
Ridiculous to the sublime. I interview everybody, but I'm very excited to interview you because you are a rock star. I mean, everybody
Oh,
knows who you are.
well,
But let me get in. I'm going to tell my audience a little bit about you before we get into the questions. So let me just read a little bit about you. Jack Starr is an American heavy metal and blues guitarist and songwriter. He was born from a French mother and American father. He learned to play guitar by ear, copying the riffs of R&B records. His first semi-professional band was Les Variations in France, with future members of Trust in the United States. Starr emerged on the rock and metal scene in 1981, forming together with Joey, I hope I say this correct, Ivazian and David DeFay and Joe O'Reilly, the first incarnation of the heavy metal band Virgin Steel, which you're quite famous for. The new band was selected in 1982 by Mike Varney of Shrapnel Records to appear on the label's compilation album US Metal Volume 2. The song Starr sent in the compilation was Children of the Storm after only 2 albums, Virgin Steel of 1981 and Guardian of the Flame of 1982. Starr left Virgin Steel in 1983 because of musical differences with the band's frontman and other man songwriter David DeFay. Isn't that always the case? Um,
yes.
in 1984, Starr started his solo recording career with the album of Out of the Darkness, featuring former Riot vocalist Rhett Forrester, members of the Rods, and former Rainbow drummer Gary Driscoll. It was released in Europe by Music Nations and was picked as one of the best albums of the year by the music magazine Kerrang and Metal Forces. Starr changed the name of his band to Jack Starr's Burning Star. Between 1984 and 1989, he produced albums, both solo and with the band. The music of those albums was classic American 80s heavy metal, a style between Poison and Metallica. In 1989, the band was dissolved, and Starr joined short-lived bands like Strider and Smokestack Lightning. After a break in 2003, Starr founded a new band called Guardians of the Flame, which released only 1 album, Under a Savage Sky. And in 2006, Starr founded the Jack Starr's Blues Band. In the following years, Starr once again assembled a group of musicians of the new incarnation of Burning Star, which performed at the Magic Circle Festival in 2008 and released the album Defiance on the Man Awards label Magic Circle Music in 2009. 2011, they released Land of the Dead with Lime Music. The albums included X-Men over guests, including Ross, the Boss, and David Schenkel. The band played at 2013 Keep It True Festival and recorded a DVD. So you have done so much. Now, Linda told me that you both have you have similarities between the two of you. Both come from a military family where both your fathers were in the military and married, were stationed in Europe and married. In your case, your father married someone that was from Paris, France. Am I right about that?
That's right. Yeah.
And the rest, of course, is history. So now tell us this is a question I ask everyone. Basically, everybody, it doesn't matter, whatever your pursuit of passion is. I always ask them, my first question always is, tell us what inspired you to have a show business career with rock music.
Well, basically, I wasn't good at sports. I'm not tall. I'm 5'6". I'm not like one of these naturally gifted athletes. And I wanted to meet women.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I play guitar really well, I'll just meet a lot of women. And of course, they weren't even really
how
women.
old were you how old were you when you realized this?
I think I was about 12 years old. But the weird thing is, my mother really boosted my ego, so I never even thought that I was short. I I always thought I was tall. It wasn't until like 40 years later, and I'm thinking back on it. It's like, wow, I was only like 5'6", and everybody, my contemporaries were all like 6 foot, and then my mom always told me I was like really great looking, and then like 40 years later, I'm looking back at my high school pictures, and it's like I wasn't great looking, but I believed her that I was tall, that I was great looking, that I was incredibly talented, and it was a good thing. I think parents have that ability to make us believe in ourselves. So
That's so important. That's
yeah,
so important. I know so many people, and a lot of times they are who they are from the circumstances of their childhood. Sometimes they had, terrible parents, or their parents said things to them. It really scarred them for life. And then I know other people that they think who the hell they are. It's because their parents made them think who the hell they were. You know what I mean? So you're so right when you say that the influence we get from our parents is truly, truly very, very important. It really determines what kind of a person we will grow up to be. It really creates our personality. Now, but what was the first music band that really said, I love these guys, I want to be just like them? Who was the band? What was the band that really influenced you?
well, for me, it's unusual because most people, my age are going to say, well, I saw the Beatles on Ed
Yeah,
Sullivan, or I heard the Rolling Stones,
right.
and I did see the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I was very young, but it did make an impression. And I did remember enjoying the Stones the first time I heard them. And I remember hearing Summer in the City by Loving Spoonful. And I can tell you exactly where I was. I was on Park Avenue in Long Beach, New York. I was,
That's where I live.
okay, I was 13 years old. I was driving down the road with my parents, and all of a sudden I'm hearing bang, bang, bang. Dun, 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 dun. Hot town, somewhere in the city. So I heard that. I was like, wow, this is really cool. So yes, what made me want to play music was none of the above, though. It was that Long Island was like a hotbed of rock bands. And I'm talking about local rock bands that made albums that never seemed to really get out of Long Island. But well, there was a couple in particular, but there was a band called The Illusion. And when I was like in high school, I wanted to be like them. I wanted to dress like them. I wanted to wear my hair like them. I
The
wanted to have a band.
Illusions. The
What?
Illusions. The name was The
The
Illusions.
Illusion, yeah. It was basically a bunch of Italian guys from Hempstead, New York, uh, with one guy who was not Italian. Uh, and they almost made it. They had a song with this riff. I don't know if you can hear this. Can you hear this? Anyway, it was called Did You See Her Eyes? So that's what wanted, that's what got me into wanting to do this crazy stuff. And then there was one other band too. There was a band called the Vanilla Fudge. I think everybody heard of them, right? Does that ring a bell?
Vanilla Fudge.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had that song, Set Me Free, Why Don't You, Babe? Okay, so You Keep Me Hanging On. When they broke up, um, some of the members started another band called Boomerang, and they had a 15-year-old guitar player who was a friend of mine. And so I was kind of living vicariously through him, through this, through my 15-year-old friend. And I was older than him. I was 16 or 17. Those are the two bands that had the most influence on me,
Mm.
The Illusion and Boomerang. And they
And
were local.
you said they almost made it, but they didn't. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they didn't make it? The Illusions.
Uh, well, they got rid of the S because they wanted to be hipper. They were originally The Illusions. They got rid of
Okay.
the S. They became The Illusion.
Okay.
I have no idea why they didn't make it. The band had everything you could imagine.
You think it's luck?
I think there's an element of that. Yeah, I do.
Timing, luck, and
Uh,
also I also think it has a lot to do with the dynamic and the chemistry of the guys that are in the band or the women in the band. It's got to have a chemistry, and have to get along. I mean, if they don't get along, there's trouble right there. Am I right?
yeah, I mean, superficially, it looked like they were getting along great. I mean, I saw them in various clubs. There was a club in Long Beach called Leone's. It was owned by Rennie Leone, and it was on Walnut. Well, I'm not sure, but it was on the corner there. Anyway, they played there. I saw them there. I saw them at the Action House, which became it changed names. It became the Rock Pile. Uh, I don't know why they didn't make it, and that's an interesting thing. I really don't know.
Well, it's the same in acting. There's so many people that, embark in the career of show business and acting, and because that's what I do. I'm an actress too, but there's so
Yeah,
many people that embark on that, and there's so many circumstances, and it's really timing, it's really luck, it's really everything, that
I
helps to get you where you have to be. But more,
I think it is. I think
yeah,
you're right. And anyway, in the case of the illusion, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There was other bands on Long Island that I would follow. I was going to clubs when I was like 14 years old.
how'd
I
you
had
get in?
They just let me in, you know. I looked cool. I had long hair. I dressed, you know, I was dressing like an English rock star when I was 14,
Like
15.
Davy Jones from the Monkees.
Yeah. And I kind of
I
look like
bet
it.
you do look like Davy Jones. You do a little
And I,
bit, a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, it's crazy. You know, so they would let me in and I would see. I remember seeing this one band. Uh, they were called the Rich Kids. And their whole gimmick, and they were very popular. Their gimmick was they would dress kind of like Little Lord Fauntleroy, you know, from English literature.
Yes,
You
I
know,
know who it is. I
they
know
would
who
dress
Little.
like little, I don't know, like little lords and princes. And anyway, their guitar player was amazing. His name was Richie Supa, Supa. I think it was probably shortened from a long Greek name or a long Italian name. But so I thought they were great too. But he at least ended up writing hit songs. He wrote some hit songs for Aerosmith, the guitar player. So I
Right.
mean, so some of them ended up doing, you know, stuff within music, you know, and but when I get asked that question, it's really difficult for me to answer because because I have to answer with bands and people that no one ever heard of.
This is true. Now I want to ask you, tell us the story behind your first semi-professional band, Les Variations in France, with future members of the Trust. How did you create this band? And tell us the story behind it.
Well, what happened is I I I wanted to move back to France. My grandmother lived there. She had a beautiful house in the middle of Paris, and
Mm.
I wanted to like kind of get in touch with my French roots, you know. So when after I graduated high school, uh, I had I had a little band, and we were playing and rehearsing in my parents' house. And one day, this guy from France came to our little town, and his name was Jean-Francois. And he was, you know, just a very cool guy. You know, he was just like, listen, and he he came to one of our little rehearsals, and he said, guys, uh, I think I could help you very much, but you must listen to me, my friends. So I didn't, so, you know, everybody was impressed. I didn't have a French accent. I could speak French with him, but I let him speak in English because I wanted the other guys in my band to hear what he was saying without my interpretation of it. So he was like, I think if you boys went to Paris, we could make you stars, but I will get you record deal in France.
Did he
So
did he get your record deal in France?
he didn't, but when we got there, we got a record deal like within 2 months of us landing in France. Uh, Here's what happened. We 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 took him up on it. We said, okay, Jean-Francois, you sound like a straight up great guy, and we like what you're saying. Yeah, we're gonna do it. So he said, oh, that is wonderful. Uh, I will meet you at the airport. Bring all your equipment and everything that you will need. And don't worry, I will have a limousine waiting. I will have truck waiting for your equipment. So, oh, that sounded great. We were like 19, 18, you know. We get there, there's nobody. He didn't even show up.
Oh,
So, so we're sitting there at the airport in customs with about 10,000 pounds of equipment.
oh my God.
Our amplifiers, our PA system, drum sets, uh, no work permits because we didn't know that you're supposed to have a work permit. when, you know, and obviously we couldn't tell, you know, the customs people, yeah, we're tourists and we normally travel with all this stuff, you know. So anyway, I digress. But what happened is I called up my uncle, Michel. He came, he got a truck, found a place to store all our equipment, and that was that was a bad situation that
But
got
from even from experiences like that, you learn something. You
yes.
learn, right?
And what we learned is that get it in writing. When someone says something,
Make a
really
contract.
get it in writing, and
Yeah.
especially if it could lead to something like you sitting in an airport for 8 hours with the threat of being sent back to America and your equipment confiscated and everything else, you know. So
So
anyway,
then, yeah, so
worked
tell
out
us
good.
about variations, how Les Variations. How ultimately you got that band started.
Well, I didn't really get it started. They were around before me. They were like they're kind of like the Rolling Stones of France. And I when they broke up, I started a band with two of the guys that had been in the Variations, and it was really cool, you know, because I was like kind of an oddity, you know. Here's this guy, he speaks fluent French, but he's not French, and he's American. So I was bringing kind of like this, I don't know, this American style of playing, you know, and so it was a lot of doors really did open. So it didn't, I didn't even care. At first, I was really mad that you know we got screwed by this manager, you know. But now, if I were to meet him now, I would say, you know, thank you for you know, for for bringing us to France.
Exactly. Sometimes things that happen that get screwed up were really meant to happen to teach you something, to make you learn and to, accomplish something else. It's like a diversion, but it actually is there. It's meant to happen to you. These things in
Exactly.
life are meant to happen to you. Now, you are also famous as a legendary guitarist, the founder of Virgin Steel. Tell us the story behind Virgin Steel.
Well, basically, you know, we were listening. I mean, I was listening to a lot of British rock when I was about 20 years old. And there was like a new style of music uh, emanating, you know, from Britain at the time. They called it the new wave of British heavy metal,
Mhm.
and it was bands like Iron Maiden and Angel Witch and uh, just bands that were playing this kind of heavy metal, but it was a little bit faster than the sludgy metal of Black Sabbath. It was more a little bit more up tempo. And so I told this friend of mine, his name was Joey. He was a drummer, and I was older than him by I don't know at least 4 or 5 years. And I said, "Listen, check out these bands from England. They're really cool. You know, nobody's doing this in America. We could do it. You know." And and that's how Virgin Steel was born. And then I was thinking, you know, I like the concept of the name Iron Maiden because it's got the heaviness, you know, iron, and it's got maiden, which is, you know, kind of innocent and pure and, you know, light. So I said, and, you know, and then, and Black Sabbath, you know, again, you know, the contrast. So I said, I'm going to come up with a great name. About a week later, I called him up and I said, listen, I wrote a list of about 10 names. And what do you think? Right away, he said, Virgin Steel. It's got the light and the dark. And so, okay, so me and him, we were off to the races. We said, okay. let's find a bass player and let's find a singer and let's do this thing. We'll be like the first band on Long Island to play this style of British heavy metal, and
Mhm.
uh, and that's what
Now,
we did.
now, throughout your life, you've always been in pursuit of finding the right musician and singers to collaborate with. How many bands have you started with, and how many bands have you worked with?
Well, I never really, gave it a count, but probably a dozen bands.
Tell us how you started, why you decided to start the band Jack Starr's Burning Star.
Well, that's a long story, but I I wanted my name in the band. I just thought, um, you have to believe in yourself. And I thought, well, if people see this on a marquee somewhere or read about it, they're going to react in one of two ways. They're going to either think, wow, this guy's got some ego. I never heard of him, but he thinks he's great and he's putting his name out there. Or they're going to react with, wow, he must be really good because he's, billing himself, or his record company is billing him, Jack Starr's Burning Star. I think I'll check it out. So I think that it's okay to believe in yourself. It's not always, ego is not always a negative thing.
I agree. I totally agree. Now, under Jack Starr's Burning Star, you under that name you created albums, and one of these was your what is tell my audience which album you're the most proud of under the Jack Starr label, or what are you most famous for? What is that band most famous for right now?
Well, I think we just put out an album called what was it called? It was called Souls of the Innocent.
I was just about to ask you that before.
Yeah.
This was in conjunction with the question before, Souls of the Innocent. Tell us about that.
Well, the concept, the bass player in the band that I've had for the last, I mean, really forever. He's been my bass player for a very long time. One day, about 3 years ago or 2 years ago, he said, "Listen, I have a great name for an album, Souls of the Innocent." And I said, "Well, what does it mean?" Because I want to know if it means something or if it's just, a name that sounds cool. He said, "Well," he was a little bit vague actually on the meaning of it. He was a bit vague, but I was able to kind of pry it out of him that it really meant that he believed that intrinsically people are innocent and that our souls are innocent, but that we become corrupted uh, when we arrive on Earth, when we interact with other humans, and when we become, preoccupied uh, by money and by materialism, so on and so forth, and that, but that we are good.
Right.
Uh,
It's a matter of, like we said before, it's a matter of consequence and circumstance, and and the people that we become involved with throughout our life. That does influence us totally.
and what happened too is there was a there was an actual event that that occurred in Las Vegas, Nevada, about 5 years ago,
I remember.
when people were on their way to a concert and they were randomly, shot by a sniper. Uh, and I think that had a profound effect on Ned, the bass player. And I think it was the futility of that. These people are going. out to have a good time. It's a beautiful night. They're on their way to see music being performed.
And this happened.
And this happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Tell us about your documentary. That's the latest thing that just happened to you. The latest accomplishment about the metal school that they did this documentary on you guys. Tell us about that quickly because we're running out of
All right.
time.
Well, we were very honored. There's this website they're on YouTube. They're called Metal School. And what they do is they do documentaries on various bands that they feel are worthy and have made an impact in the world of heavy metal. And about 3 months ago, I was contacted by the guy that puts together the videos, and he said, "Listen, we'd like to do a documentary on your band. Can you provide us with footage?" And I said, "Yeah, that would be great." And that's what I did. I sent them over quite a bit of footage from the 1980s, 90s, and so on. And he surprised us with a very well done 45-minute documentary on Burning Star.
Fabulous. Tell my audience, where can we go to find out more information about you? What is your website, darling?
Okay, it's Jack Starr uh, on Facebook, also Jack Starr on YouTube, also Burning Star on YouTube, Burning Star on Facebook, and also the name of the label is Global Rock Records, and they have a website as well. They're a British label, and we've been with them now for about 8 months, and that's about it. We're very transparent. We're not in the
Fabulous.
witness protection program.
Fabulous. I want to thank you very much for doing this fabulous interview with me. And I wish I was there to give you a big pink champagne kiss, but I'm going to blow it to you. Big
Thank you.
champagne kisses. And don't go away yet. We'll be back with more celebrity interviews, darlings. Keep watching. Pink champagne kisses. Well, I'm glad you watched my show. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. I certainly loved interviewing Jack Starr. He is a fabulous musician. And we will be doing more Zoom interviews in the future. So don't forget to follow my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and always ring the notification bell to let you know when I am publishing a new video. I always publish a new video every Sunday or every Monday. And I also do wonderful shopping hauls at Amazon, Shein, Rainbow Shops, and Fashion Nova. And I love you all. And don't forget to subscribe. And pink champagne kisses.
Hello, darlings. You've all heard of Marilyn Monroe. Some of you know Bridget Bardot. Well, now it's time for the Cognac show. I said Cognac, ooh, ooh. I said Cognac, ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm a bubbly blonde, fabulously dressed to impress. One of a kind girl. I was brought into this world wrapped up in pearls. I love to mingle, though my husband reminds me I'm not single. I meet and greet both the famous and the elite. I ride in limousines, drinking the finest champagne, wearing furs, dazzling diamond jewelry. A girl can't complain. I live upscale life, dining in the finest restaurants, eating the best caviar for free. And no matter how much I enjoy cognac, ooh, ooh. I said cognac, ooh, ooh, ooh. This has been a Crybaby Productions, darlings.